The 19th century was a time of incredible scientific progress, yet some of the most important experiments of that era were lost or never fully understood. What if we had recognized their significance at the time? How different would science look today if these lost experiments had changed the course of discovery? One of the most overlooked areas of 19th century science was the early study of electricity. While scientists like Michael Faraday and Thomas Edison are widely remembered for their breakthroughs, many other figures made crucial contributions that were, unfortunately, either ignored or misunderstood. For instance, in the early 1800s, a French scientist named André-Marie Ampère was developing theories about electromagnetism, which were far ahead of their time. However, his work was initially dismissed by some of his contemporaries. If Ampère's ideas had been accepted sooner, perhaps the development of electrical engineering and technology could have advanced more quickly. Another forgotten experiment from the 19th century involved early attempts at photography. We know that pioneers like Louis Daguerre and William Henry Fox Talbot are credited with inventing photography, but did you know that there were earlier, less recognized experiments that had the potential to change the way we captured images? For example, the work of Joseph Nicephore Niepce in the 1820s led to the first permanent photograph, but his method was not fully understood until much later. If his process had been better documented and refined, the evolution of photography might have taken a different path. But it wasn't just in the world of optics and electricity that important experiments were lost. In the field of chemistry, early experiments into organic compounds were also overshadowed. Chemists like Dmitri Mendeleev, who famously created the periodic table, were building on ideas proposed by less-known scientists, such as Johann Wolfgang Debriner. In the 1820s, Debriner created the law of triads, which observed that certain groups of elements exhibited similar properties. Unfortunately, Debriner's work was largely forgotten until Mendeleev came along decades later. If Debriner's ideas had been more widely accepted, we might have seen the development of the periodic table years earlier. The 19th century also saw experiments in medicine that were ahead of their time, but often dismissed due to lack of understanding. One example is Ignaz Semmelweis, a Hungarian doctor who discovered in the 1840s that hand-washing could drastically reduce the spread of infection in hospitals. However, his ideas were rejected by many in the medical community at the time. It wasn't until decades later that his work was validated. Had his findings been taken seriously earlier, countless lives could have been saved in hospitals worldwide. Perhaps one of the most striking examples of lost experiments comes from the world of aviation. Before the Wright brothers famously took flight in 1903, there were several other inventors attempting to create flying machines. One lesser-known figure was Sir George Cayley, who in the early 1800s designed the first successful glider, though his ideas were not fully realized until later. If his work had received more attention, human flight might have taken off a lot sooner than it did. So, what can we learn from these forgotten or misunderstood experiments? Science is often about more than just the discoveries that succeed. It's about the ideas and failures that shape the future. These lost experiments show how easily innovation can be overlooked, but they also highlight how science is an evolving process where every attempt adds to the greater body of knowledge. In many cases, these lost or forgotten experiments were rediscovered or validated much later. However, the lessons they teach us are invaluable. Had these ideas been fully embraced at the time, the world of science and technology could have been very different. What if we could go back in time and give these forgotten pioneers the recognition they deserved? Would they have accelerated the development of the technologies we take for granted today? While we can't change the past, we can ensure that today's innovators don't slip through the cracks of history.